Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building, senior advisor to President Obama and author Valerie Jarrett. Welcome.
Good
Thank
morning,
you.
Miss Jarrett.
Good morning. How are you, gentlemen?
How are you?
I'm great. I'm really great.
What exactly does a senior advisor for a president do? For people who may not know.
Well, under President Obama, what a senior advisor would do would be responsible for giving him advice on every decision that he needs to make. And we would work with all the different federal agencies and stakeholders and try to make sure that he makes an informed decision.
So we don't have one now.
Yeah, under President Trump, there is no
There is
senior
no senior
advisor.
advisor.
I can't speak to this administration. I can only tell you what we did. And there was a lot of rigor and discipline and homework and research and evidence that went into our recommendations.
How was working with Obama?
Well, I've known him since 1991. I first met him when I was trying to hire his fiance to come and work with me when I was in the mayor's office in Chicago. So we go way back. And I love him. I consider him like the younger brother I never had, feel the same way about his wife. And there wasn't a single day that I worked with him in the White House, first of all, that it wasn't an honor, and where I felt like he lost sight of why we were there. And that was service.
And what about Joe Biden?
So Joe Biden, I had not met until President Obama was considering him as a nominee. And he was solid, too. He brought a wealth of experience on foreign policy that President Obama didn't have when he took office. And I have to say, I think that their relationship gelled as a closer one than most vice presidents to the presidents.
Did he ever kiss you on the forehead or do anything?
Man, what are you talking
He's a
about?
hugger now. Let me tell you something. He does get close. But
Jesus.
I'll say this to you. Like when my dad died, on a really serious note, he came up to my office and, he grabbed my hands and he said to me that, your tears of sorrow will turn to smiles when you think about him, in a very intimate and personal way, because he had experienced more loss than anybody should have to experience by then. That was even before Bo died. So, yeah, he's a close, intimate person.
He's that type of guy. He's close,
That's
intimate,
how he
in your
is.
face.
That's
Right.
exactly how he is, and he's present in your life. Let's put it that way. You
Gotcha.
do not. You are aware he is in the room.
Do you think Joe Biden can stand on the Obama-Biden era, like to get people excited to vote for him? Is that like a successful path to victory?
I think it's one part of his package. Sure, he served for 8 years with President Obama. They were in sync on every major issue. When Vice President Biden and President Obama debated issues privately, who knows where they came down, but he was on board. And so, yeah, I think that's a part of his legacy. It's not his whole legacy, but it's a good chunk of it.
Well, when it comes to President Barack Obama's legacy, like, do you think like the heavy vetting that Biden is going through right now and the things they're bringing up, like the 94 crime bill and his old comments that some people consider racist, do you think that could be damaging to Obama's legacy?
No, I don't. I think he stands on his own 2 feet pretty firmly
Gotcha.
and is extremely popular in the black community. In the whole community, not just the black community.
That is very true. Now, you lived in Iran until you were 5?
I was born there.
Wow.
I know.
How did that shape your worldview?
Pretty fundamentally. I mean, first of all, we ended up there because my dad, who was a black doctor, was trying to get a job in the mid-50s, to date myself just a little bit.
I was thinking like 30.
I knew you were going to say that. Thank you very much.
1930s?
No,
30s.
that's not what he
I'm
meant.
about to say. I know, but the way that segue was
No,
terrible. The way
I
he said
knew.
it.
understood.
All right.
It never occurred to me he was saying 1930s.
I was like, my God. Envy.
Okay,
You are
so
disrespectful.
1950s, he could not get a job at any major teaching institution in this country comparable to what his white counterparts were going to earn coming out of the Army. And so he and my mom decided to look for opportunities outside of the United States, which was kind of a bold thing. I think they maybe been to Europe once. And this position came to his attention to be chairman of the Department of Pathology and help start a new hospital in Shiraz, Iran. Now, keep in mind, guys, that's back when the United States had far better relationships with the government of Iran than they do today. They were a staunch ally of ours. And so he and my mom went there. And part of what shaped me is that instead of being perceived, like he went to Howard undergrad, Howard Medical School, he'd always been defined as a black doctor. And there he was an American doctor.
Gotcha.
Evaluated on the merits. And so being born there, I was kind of confused. And part of why my parents wanted to come home is they were trying to raise a black child in a foreign country where there were no other black people around. And so it was really confusing to me. But what I did learn there is I could play with kids from all over the world because physicians from all over the world were working to start this new hospital. And I found something in common with all of them. And I also think when you've lived outside of the United States, particularly at that point in an underdeveloped country, you learn not to take stuff for granted that we take for granted here. Like, my mom had to boil everything I drank and peel everything I ate, and diseases there were not necessarily curable. And our civil liberties that we have here, not that we're perfect, but it is a democracy, and that's not what it was there. And then the other thing I think I learned, spending those years in Iran and going back, we went back pretty often. And my father's work took him throughout the world. He did a lot of research in Africa. So we'd spend our summer vacations going from like Ghana to Nigeria to Uganda to Ethiopia to Cairo, up to Cairo, and then back to Iran. Is that the United States is a really great country. It's not the only country. And that we can actually learn stuff by people around the world. And I think that view of the world shaped me pretty fundamentally.
Is that what got you into politics?
No. What got me into politics was the election of Mayor Harold Washington in Chicago. So he's first black mayor in Chicago. And I knocked on doors for him in 1984. And then when he was reelected in 1987, I did the same thing. And it was the first time I felt like the mayor of Chicago represented me. And I love Chicago, but I never felt like, I didn't even know who my alderman was or how many aldermen there were. I didn't understand how the city worked. But when he got elected, I started paying attention. And I was really miserable practicing law at a big corporate law firm. I mean, like sitting in my office crying every day. And I had a good friend who worked for him, and he said, why don't you try public service? You'll feel a part of something bigger than yourself where you could actually make an impact. And so I took this leap of faith, and I walked away from that fancy office and that big paycheck, and I walked into a cubicle with a window facing an alley, and that's where I belonged.
Really?
I knew that's where I belonged, yeah, day one.
Wow. Do you feel like you have any roots in Iran?
Not roots, because I haven't been back since 1974, before y'all were born probably. But I feel like I have great memories. I mean, everything there to me felt wonderful at the time. You know, your memory as a child, you always, you cloud it with your fantasies and stories that you've heard. So I give you one example. I thought it was like 80 degrees and sunny every day. My mom was like, it snowed sometimes. I was like, no, it snowed. Really? I don't have any memory of snow. So it was a very simple life. And in my book, I talk about like, I went to an excellent school that was for kids all over the world at the same time as Ruby Bridges was integrating her school, having to walk in there with armed guards. And so in a sense, it was an ideal life, but for the fact that I didn't really appreciate what it meant to be a part of the black community. And my mom grew up in Chicago, my dad, D.C., and back then, obviously, Jim Crow and restrictive covenants, they both grew up in a 100% black community. And they wanted me to have that better appreciation of where I come from. And our family is one with like a deep legacy of education and working hard. And so my parents felt like I needed to be a part of my extended family. I'm an only child. And they wanted me to know my grandmother and my aunts and uncles and cousins and feel part of a community. So we moved back home.
It's clear that you're a black woman, and you speak proudly about being a black person. So when Roseanne said she didn't even know you were black, was that insulting?
Look, it was all pretty insulting. But I also said at the time that I'm fine. I put myself in the arena. I can take care of myself. I'm surrounded by a lot of love and support. But there are a whole lot of black people, in a sense, that was symptomatic of a bigger problem, which is that in America today, we are still judged by our race and not our content. And I think social media can be a tool for, incredible expansion of knowledge and bringing us together, but it also lets people talk at each other rather than to each other. So I don't like that part of it. And I think if we were to spend more time like sitting down in a room, which is why I loved being present, where you could look in the faces of the people you're talking to. And social media doesn't let you do that. So I worry not so much about me, to answer your question. I worry about like the teenage girls who are walking around a grocery store or a department store and they get followed. Like, what does that do to their self-esteem? Or a guy's walking down the street and he sees women on the other side of the street clinging to their purses. And the talk we all have to give our black sons about driving a car, even when your white friends are talking back and goofing off, we don't get to do that. So those are the issues that bother me more so than a tweet from somebody I don't even know.
Michelle Obama said when they go low, we go high. So when she went low like that and said you look like a monkey or whatever, did you have to stop yourself from tweeting back at her? Like,
I really
have you seen yourself, Roseanne?
I really did not have to. I did not have to give. In fact, I always say like, Roseanne who?
Yeah. You think it's a double standard? Hey!
There you go.
Did that gently, but yeah. Yeah, we have to, unfortunately, that's what we learn, right? And the other thing about it is, like, the kids are watching us. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to be role models. And part of what Michelle Obama was saying in that broader conversation is that we have to keep our eye on the prize. Like, if you're in public service, you're not supposed to have a thin skin and react to everything that comes your way, because it's a distraction from what you're actually trying to accomplish. And so it takes a lot more strength to go high than to go low. It's kind of easy to go low.
It's kind of hard when our president is the total opposite. Thin skin, will go at anybody at any given time, and he doesn't care about the low road. He's going over people's heads. He's going at people at all time. Does that make you fearful for where the country's going?
Well, I think tone does start at the top, but the reason why I'm optimistic today is I travel around the country and I still see like people who are just ordinary people who are fighting hard to make their communities better. And I have had the luxury, really, of seeing all parts of our country in 2 presidential campaigns. And since then, with the work I've been doing, trying to get people to vote, trying to focus on gender equity and reducing gun violence. These are kind of the issues that I have been spending time on. Criminal justice reform, my brother's keeper. And there's a lot of magic and good stuff happening out there. But it is dispiriting to have the President of the United States focus on separating us as opposed to bringing us together. And I think part of why President Obama resonated so deeply with America and won not once, but twice, and not that many presidents have won twice, is because his message was one of unification and to appeal to what's good in each and every one of us. And that's not the case today.
As a person who's been in politics for so long, do you really take Donald Trump serious as a president? Like, I mean, he's the former executive producer of Celebrity Apprentice.
Well, let me tell you something. He has a lot of power.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying. And I know from having been inside the White House for 8 years, from January 20th to January 20th, the impact the President of the United States can have not only on the lives of people who are here, but people around the world. Look, we are like the beacon of hope of a democracy. And right now, for example, we count on Congress to be a check and balance.
Right.
And when that stops happening, when just imagine if President Obama had done like any of this stuff, right? He wore a tan suit and it was like a major incident. He put a foot on the desk in the Oval Office. Lord. And so when you see a breakdown of that, then I am troubled. And so you might say, I guess your question is like, does he have the background to be the president? Well, I might say, no, I didn't vote for him. But he is the president, and the impact he can have on lives of not just Americans. Like, look at these kids being separated from their families at the border. The long-term irreparable damage is devastating. Just look at the rhetoric, and we've seen increases of hate crimes and white supremacist groups. And so it's unleashed a level of hatred in our country that is like deeply troubling and concerning to me, as it should be to all of us.
If you were President Obama's senior advisor, would you have stepped down already? If you were President Trump's senior advisor?
Well, I wouldn't have said yes in the first place.
You would say?
No, I would not have worked for this administration.
Yeah.
No.
Is there any candidates that you're feeling so far? Anybody? And you don't have to.
I love the way you did that. Feeling. Am I feeling them? Let me say. Well, 2 things I'll say about that. First of all, I think there's 3 things. Embarrassment of riches. Lots of great candidates in the race in the Democratic field. Number 2, I'd say it's early, way early. I remind people who are like, well, who are you going to vote for? I'm like, do you realize that Barack Obama was down by like 20 points in this time in his first campaign, and Hillary Clinton was the invincible candidate, and there was no way that this skinny kid with a funny name was going to win. So I want to see how they do earning our respect and trust. And that is not something that can happen with just like one interaction, because look, this is a marathon, running a political presidential campaign, and it should be. You should be going out there and earning the trust of the American people. So I want to see them do that. And the final thing I say to you guys is, what I don't want to do is to beat up so much on this field, and I don't want them to beat up on each other. First of all, because I want to know, like, why should I vote for you? I'm not so interested in why I shouldn't vote for the other guy. What is it that should mean about you that I should trust you and put the future of myself and my children and grandchildren in your hands? So prove that to me first. But then also, I want to see, like, whoever emerges as the nominee is not in a weakened state, because the real prize is winning the general election. We have got to win the general election. And right now, there isn't a candidate who's announced that I will not get behind 100% in the general election if they emerge as a nominee.
Really?
Any of them are better, in my opinion, than what we have right now.
Why do you think, Biden and Sanders get a pass for the 94 crime bill, but Hillary was held accountable for that?
Well, first of all, definitely Hillary shouldn't be held accountable. That was her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first lady. She didn't have anything to do with it. So I agree with you on that point. And I think the candidates who are in now, they have to demonstrate to us why they should earn our trust. I think with Biden, I didn't agree with his position, and he would be the first to say he didn't always get it right. And I believe people can evolve, and we should test them and see and kick their tires and see whether they have. When he was in the White House, he worked very hard for criminal justice reform, which you guys know was a top priority for President Obama. And now the great thing about the campaign is he gets to go out there and explain to the American people why we should believe that the positions that he says he holds today are true. That's what the campaign is all about. And I love that about the campaign. And I want to see the debates. I want to see these town halls, which are interesting. And let's kick their tires and see whether, how have people changed their positions from where they may have been 30 years ago.
You think people have a problem with women in positions of power? Because even with Kamala Harris, she was a prosecutor, and they're like, oh, she locked up black and brown people. And I'm like, that's what prosecutors do.
You're asking me, do people have a problem with women in power?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they do. Of course they do. My goodness. They had a problem with me, and I wasn't even elected. Yes, they do. But you know what? If you were to also say to me, is our country ready for a woman president? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. Kamala was doing her job. I should say Senator Harris was doing her job
Senator Harris.
As a prosecutor. And I actually want more black prosecutors. And I want black prosecutors that understand they have a huge amount of discretion. I mean, they don't have to prosecute. They can look at the facts of the case and let you go. We have a new prosecutor in Chicago, Kim Fox. There are lots more people going into that field who are people of color, and I think that that's good for the field. So, again, she should be judged on her record, but we shouldn't just have a knee-jerk reaction that because she was a prosecutor, she shouldn't be president.
Yes. Now, Valerie, the book's called Finding My Voice. Miss Jarrett, I'm sorry.
Finding My Voice.
Call me Valerie.
It's called Finding My Voice. And people have always said, oh, she's just the Obama's friend. So do you feel like you're finding your voice now?
I think so. And I think, look, when you are staff to a president, you are there in a support role. And I think I found my voice actually when I worked in city government, because I found it a lot easier to advocate for people who I thought didn't have a seat at the table. And look, I had the benefit of a great education and wonderful experience when I was in the private practice of law. And I wanted to bring that to bear in Chicago, having grown up there and felt excluded. Mm-hmm. I wanted to bring those voices to the table. And a lot of the work that I did there involved going out to community hearings and listening to people. And part of finding my voice means understanding the people who I'm trying to represent. And in local politics, I'm a big believer in public service at the local level. You are right there. You cannot hide from the people you serve. So I take my daughter to the grocery store. People would come up to me. I'd take her to the park. People would slip notes under my door. It was a 24/7 experience, as it should be, because it is about service. And I think that was a really good training ground. And then I went on to be CEO of a company and ran that company for several years before joining the administration. So I think I had local government experience and I had private sector experience, all of which prepared me to be a senior advisor with substantive roles. I mean, I oversaw several offices in the White House and ran them as the gateway to give President Obama as much information as he could get from the people who had the most at stake before he made a decision.
Mm-hmm. So what is Ms. Jarrett trying to say right now? What does she want to say?
What do I want to say?
Yeah.
Well, I want people to read my book, because what I tried to do in that book was to tell a story about my life in the hopes that people would see like this young, shy girl who grew up without a voice and without a confidence and didn't trust myself, and how through a lot of hard work and effort, I grew.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk a lot about being a young single mom, where I didn't expect to be a young single mother. I married the boy next door. Like, what could go wrong? Right. Well, you know what? Plenty went wrong. And I had to come to terms with that and stop viewing myself as a failure because my marriage didn't work. Or
What went wrong? Was it so much work? Was it you were an attorney at that age?
He probably was cheating.
Well, I don't know whether he was cheating or not,
Goodness
but he
gracious,
was
Sean.
not. I know that he kind of jumped, didn't he? He just jumped the shark there.
I'm just thinking of the usual stuff that
guys do.
Yeah.
You know what? He just was not that into me. And I was trying, my definition of success was like being accommodating. And I was just like bending over backwards trying to do everything to make him happy. And I wasn't actually thinking about myself. And my mom was like, why don't you be who you are? Stop trying to be like some made up version of a wife. And while you are having a baby and being a lawyer, she's like, you're dropping balls all over the place, girl. You better get yourself together. And it was hard for me because my parents were happily married their whole life, and 62 years till my dad died. And I thought I had to make this work, but I was like in some fantasy land, and it just didn't work. And I was not happy. And I kept thinking, my daughter is going to grow up thinking that this is a marriage. And I used to tell her when she was young, if you have one happy parent, that's a good thing, right? And she was going to have two unhappy parents. And so it took a lot for me to leave. But if I hadn't, I wouldn't have found my voice because I was busy being a wife. I wasn't being Valerie. And so the combination of my marriage falling apart and being a part of Mayor Washington's administration really helped empower me and help me find who I was. And to learn, like, not only do I want to speak up for myself, but how am I going to help some other people and use my voice to be like an agent of change and help empower other people to find theirs. And I look back now and as I travel around the country, I'm talking to so many young people in particular who come up to me and they go like, not happy in my career, but I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, what do you think you should do? What does your gut tell you should do? And kind of give them permission to help find their voices too.
Where the hell is your ex-husband now? Do you ever go on Facebook to make sure he's doing bad?
Well, he passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jesus.
What is wrong with you today?
I know, he walked right into that one.
Twice. That's twice.
Walked into that one.
But did you forgive him before he passed away?
Well, it wasn't a matter of forgiving. You know what?
Yeah.
I blame myself for like marrying a fantasy. So that was as much on me as it was on him.
Wow.
I look forward to reading this book. I haven't read it yet. It's out right now.
Questions.
He's not done.
I'm just telling you. I'm
Thank
interested
you.
in the story. It
Thank
sounds
you very
amazing.
much.
Did it make it harder for you to find love again?
Well, I'll tell you, yes. And it took me a long time before all right, so we should like me break it down for you. So I think I thought marriage was going to kind of complete me and make me whole and everything. Never been lonelier than in an unhappy marriage.
Wow.
Really?
Never been lonelier than it's like a form of loneliness, like no, I can't even say that. Loneliness, like nothing else. And so when I realized, well, that doesn't feel good, and then I'm suddenly a single mom, but I'm a single mom with like means, and my parents are being supportive. I got a lot going for me compared to a lot of single parents who are out there like struggling to make ends meet. I never had to worry about putting food on the table, but I felt like I was dangling by my fingertips. And slowly but surely, I was like, you know what? I can actually take care of this baby. At first, I thought it was like malpractice to let me take her home from the hospital. I didn't know how to put the car seat in. I didn't do any of that. I had never changed a diaper until my child was born.
That early y'all broke up. So
we broke up like 7 months after she was born. Really. He moved away to Michigan to do a residency, and he never really came back.
Jesus.
So yeah, she
you
was
were
a young.
all on your own.
I was on my own.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
family. Big family, a lot
Right.
of support. But every morning I would look at her and I go, oh my goodness. And I'm like, I go to bed at 10 o'clock. I was staying up till like 1 and 2 in the morning, and I go check on her to make sure she was all right, because I did not have the confidence that I could do this on my own. So my point is, I did it. And so as time went by, I became a whole person, and then it was easier for me to love again and feel like I had something to offer as opposed to getting something from somebody else to complete me. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Did he ever come around as the child grew older?
He did not. He remarried. Wow. He remarried and never really saw much of her. He remarried, had another child. He kind of moved on.
I didn't know
you never thought about revenge once?
My revenge was success.
Yeah,
Being
yeah,
okay
yeah.
on
I ain't
my
gonna lie,
own.
'cause you were up there. You could
I
have
was doing-
You could have got him
You
audited.
could have said, let's audit
All
him.
kind of stuff.
Let's
Like,
stop him at TSA.
yeah. I mean,
He
you coulda
died
really-
long before that.
Oh,
But you
okay.
know, but I think you know what?
Damn.
There was no opportunity for that.
Oh, but you would have done
but
it.
Just thought about
now
it.
I do
I
have
thought about it one time.
I do have some other old boyfriends who I will say I was in that White House and I was thinking, yeah, you wish you could be coming up in here, but you can't, right? So revenge is a lovely form. Success is a lovely form of revenge.
So how did Miss Jarrett open herself back up to love again?
You heal, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say that to young people all the time who. You break up with somebody and you think, well, I'll never love again. And then in time, you just get better. Just like with any loss, it takes a while and you have to do like a gut check and say, well, what did I do wrong? And like, was I culpable in some respects? And how can I grow from this experience? So then, you learn how to love again.
Is Valerie in love now?
I'm not,
Miss
which
Jarrett,
is really
man.
why I
I'm
came
sorry.
on your show. No, I said you guys call me Valerie.
She said call her Valerie.
Oh, I'm
Because when
sorry.
you call me Miss Jarrett, I feel kind of old.
Oh, okay.
So let's not
But
do
it'd
that.
be like
You
on
already got
Friday.
me born in the 30s, so
You know,
let's
on
not
Fri-
do that.
You ever seen Friday?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch Friday with Ice Cube and Chris Tucker.
Is it good?
Yeah. When Miss Parker be in the yard and they be like, "Hey, Miss Parker," like it's respectful.
Well, respect is nice, but I feel like we're now friends, so you can call me Valerie.
All right, Miss Val.
So
Miss
Valerie,
Val's good. Look, my family's from the South, so we do like Miss Valerie. Yeah, that's fine too.
Is Miss Valerie looking for love?
Yes, and so that's really
you
the only
dating?
reason I came on your show is I figured with this big audience, no, I don't. I'm not dating anybody right now. It was hard in the White House. Let's face it.
You really trying to
That
shoot
was a
your
little
shot?
intimidating.
They'll slide up in your DMs now.
Don't play. This audience right here will be
Really?
all in your DMs.
But they better come like with their stuff together now, right?
And they know you got some money too. She.
I take back my invitation. Do not be DMing me because I don't know much about DM. I'm always getting criticized for not checking them anyway. So don't do that. Don't do that, you guys.
You don't check your DMs at all?
I don't. I'm not very good. Stephanie, who's here with me, she told me the other day. She said you got to at least look through them. But there's a lot of them. There's a lot
That's why
of
she ain't got
them.
no love. You got to get in them DMs, Miss
You think
Val.
so? Is that the way?
Yes.
Is that
You know
the
what?
only way?
In this
You know
era,
what? You know what?
yeah.
man.
Let Steph go through them first, because you'll get some weird pictures.
This is what
You'll
I'm
get
thinking.
Some nudes and stuff. So
You
just-
might have missed the
see, I don't
blessing.
want to see any of that, right?
You might have missed the blessing. Michael B. Jordan might be in your DMs right now. You
I'm
don't even
seeing
know.
him today.
Hey!
I'll see him later today.
What y'all
right?
going on today?
He's adorable. No, I could be his mother. So,
So?
that's not. No, I don't think so.
You wouldn't date a young man?
Younger, yes,
Younger.
not like my daughter's age. I'd have to reckon with that. She's 33, so let's keep that in mind.
So what's the cutoff limit for you?
What are you doing?
I'm just trying.
He's filtering.
She said she wants somebody. I'm trying to figure it
He's
out.
filtering for me.
35.
I don't. No, she's 33. Come on,
40.
you guys. Let's up a little bit higher.
45.
All right, 40.
45. Okay.
45 on that.
So if you're out there, you have a good job.
Yes, Miss
you're
Valerie
successful,
Jarrett
you're
is
nice,
looking.
All of that,
All
right?
of that, and
kind and decent.
and decent, and
Not crazy.
didn't vote for Trump. You know.
Mhm, that's right. Politically, we do have to be in sync politically. I don't know. It's amazing to me these households where you'll have people from two separate parties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can
Nah,
do that.
house divided usually
I don't
doesn't
think
work.
so. I'd be arguing all the time.
Do you think you wasted any time in the White House? Like when you think about your personal life and you're not, with somebody now, you think you wasted any time?
Well, look, it is a privilege and it is a sacrifice. And when you balance the two, to me, the privilege far outweighed the sacrifice. To have the chance to be there every single minute during a really tumultuous time in our country and to serve not only my really close friend, but the first Black president, it was well worth it, I would say.
Do you think the Obama administration did all they can for African Americans?
I can tell you one thing. He woke up every morning trying to figure out what he could do to create opportunity. And when you look at every possible metric from the economy and the poverty rate and the unemployment, cutting the unemployment rate and healthcare and small businesses flourishing, every possible metric, I think we are certainly better off under the Obama administration. But look, the old saying, when the Black community, when the community gets a cold, the Black community gets pneumonia. He walked into pneumonia with the economy falling apart. But the Black unemployment rate came down at a faster rate than the general unemployment rate. And there were fewer Black people in poverty in 2005 than any year since 1999. And so that's like steps he took, like expanding the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit, things that we know vulnerable populations need. Food stamps, which we now seem to call SNAP program, that expanded under President Obama. So the safety net from healthcare to our economics, grew tremendously at a time when the government was really facing budget crises of its own. And so, he grew up with a single mom who'd been on food stamps when he was a young child. So he understands what it's like. He and his wife were paying back student loans until he wrote a bestseller book. And she used to often say, we can't expect people to write a bestseller book to get themselves out of debt. Right. So I think he came to the job with his feet grounded in a way that helped shape his policies and his view of what his responsibility was as president.
Got you. Now, I'm a little concerned that you haven't seen Friday.
Well, should we watch it?
Yes, we should watch it. But what do you do for just recreation?
I know. See, people ask me that all the time. I work hard. You know what? I watch like Shondaland shows. Thursday night was my
Scandal.
Special night. Now I'm watching Station 19, and I watch How to Get Away with a Murder and Grey's Anatomy. Like everything Shonda's ever touched, I would watch. And I like shows about like medicine. So back, I watched like Chicago and everything on Chicago, like Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago. Well, there's another one. Chicago Med, Chicago Fire.
Chicago PD or something.
Chicago
like that.
PD.
Yeah.
That one's a little troubling.
Doogie Howser.
But I do watch it.
Doogie Howser.
No, Doogie Howser.
Bruh,
Come on now.
That was a med show.
What?
Bruh.
What? No, I'm not looking at that. But I like shows that talk. I watch Veep. I love shows that talk about things I'm interested in, make fun of them, like politics. So House of Cards. I'm a big Netflix fan.
But I mean, it's just funny now though, because all of those shows you name, House of Cards, Scandal, none of that has anything on this current administration.
Well, it's so interesting. Part of why like Veep was so funny was because it was so outlandish. Mm-hmm. Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much. It's not. Although this season's good. I've been watching that. So yeah, I watch a little television, but mostly those 8 years I worked.
And no Game of Thrones?
I have not watched a single. No, I'm telling you, I watched the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
And you didn't like it?
They were beheading people. I turned it right off. I couldn't take it. I mean, like in 10 minutes, there was some dark forest, and they suddenly started lopping off people's heads. No, but I'll tell you one other show where I made a mistake not watching it.
What's that?
The Wire. And the last season of The Wire, my daughter's like, you don't know what you are missing. And I had seen two, and like a little segment of that, and it was like so violent. And then I went back from the beginning, and I remember I called her when I was on the last episode of the last season, and I said, Laura, I can't talk. No, she called me. I said, I can't talk to you right now. I'm on the last part of The Wire. She goes, television will never be that good again. Mm-mm. And I think she's right. Best show ever. Absolutely. But it's one where I didn't look at it until it was almost over. So I was thinking today, maybe I should give Game of Thrones another chance. What do you guys think? Do you watch it?
It's going to take you forever. I love it.
You like it?
I don't watch it. My wife watches it, but I don't watch it.
Have you ever looked at it?
Nah.
For the same, I'm not much on fantasy.
Me neither. But you got to watch it from the beginning. It's very good.
All right, I might watch it like 2 episodes, but it's got to grab me within 2 episodes.
You know why it's so good? Because your favorite character,
they die,
is
don't
probably
they?
going to die. And that's the best thing about it. You get connected to a character, and then they die. You're like, holy, this really happened. And you get another favorite character. It's great. Like
and
that.
you like that's entertainment for you. Well, The Wire was like that, right?
The Wire was too.
Oh my gosh, into the first season.
What about Endgame? You don't watch Marvel movies?
No, I don't like Marvel.
Oh, okay.
No, I really don't. I like Star Wars.
Question.
I don't like Marvel.
Would you date a guy with a Wolverine tattoo or a Marvel tattoo on their arm, or that's too childish for you?
I've never thought about that. I don't know. It would depend upon like the rest of what was going for him.
You have to be grown. Like that's so childish.
Well, sometimes you might get that. Like if he just got it, maybe not. But if he got it when he was a teenager and he didn't want to go through the pain of taking it off,
he's judging me.
I might be
exactly.
Is he like,
yeah, exactly.
This is all about you?
17. Yes, exactly. Like stop.
Well, it hurts to get those things taken off, right?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're not gonna like corner me into saying like I don't want to draw lines like that anymore. But you do have to be kind and decent and be self-employed. Take care of yourself.
Gotcha.
We're gonna get you out in a second. I just got a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
You think it's a double standard when it comes to conservatives and liberals?
Well, sure.
Because like when you think about the Roseanne thing, like Roseanne got fired for calling you a racial slur, but then you have Ralph Northam, who was pictured with blackface on. And he still has a job. So you think there's a double standard? Or is that a false equivalency?
It's a false equivalency because they're different people. When you're elected to office, that's one thing. When you work for a company that has the ability to decide whether you are consistent with their values, that's another thing.
Gotcha.
So I think you got to take each case kind of on a case-by-case basis.
I do like the fact that when it came to Ralph, they recognized, I guess, growth and evolution in people.
Well, yeah, and looked at the things he's done while he's been in office that have actually been helpful. I suppose that's the case. And I think maybe part of my message here is that we do have to look at a whole person. And one thing I am a little worried about is like saying one thing that happened, unless it's a really sexual assault. If you've done that in your teenage years, I don't care. I'm not voting for you.
Right.
But if you have stumbled and fallen along the way and you have learned from that experience, I mean, it's part of why I was such a big supporter of the criminal justice reform. All of it. One, keeping kids out of the system. Two, making it fair. But then once people have paid their debt, like if we don't give them a second chance, then it's just going to be a cycle and they're going to end up right back in the system. So I do believe in redemption and I believe in growth. And I believe that we have to also recognize, back to your question about politics, that look, you cannot let perfect be the enemy of the good, right? You can't hold everybody up to the standard that is impossible for anyone to meet. And if you disagree with them on like one issue, well, okay, I'm not going to vote for you, because they're all human. And the question is, like, I think it was Vice President Biden who used to say this, like, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And I want us to do that in this election. I want us to like do our due diligence and look at all these candidates and feel like, which one of them do you have confidence in? And then when the primary is over, we got to get behind that person and we have to vote. And in the last presidential election, 43% of eligible voters didn't vote.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of young people. It's a lot of people of color. It's a lot of people who are going to be directly impacted by the decisions that are made. And I think too often we feel like, well, my vote doesn't count, or I don't like any of the candidates. Or no, people sacrificed and got beat up and went to prison for you to vote. We have to all vote. And so that's part of when you say, what are you doing now? That's a big piece of what I'm doing now.
How many of those people are complaining now?
A lot of them.
A lot of people, yeah.
They might show up at a rally to protest. But, we used to say at rallies, whenever we say something about the opponent, don't boo, vote. If you don't like them, and they do have an impact on your life and your life of your children and your grandchildren. I mean, we haven't talked about like an issue like climate change here. People who are there now don't believe in the science and the evidence that shows that our planet is in peril and that we have to do something about it. And so I'm still optimistic, though.
Yeah,
I am still optimistic. And I think that, we zig and zag. And I think was a wake up call with the last election, just in terms of the activism I've seen around the country, the people who've come out and spoken out and said, no, I don't believe in, separating families or disproportionately affecting Black people with the police department or the Muslim ban. I mean, there are lots of things that have happened that you have seen a really strong reaction to. And I think that's good.
And I know it's only been 2 years, but did you think after you left the White House that y'all would still be targets? Because I was watching Fox News and Tucker Carlson was going in on you. He was like, she made the New York Times bestsellers list and she didn't sell any books and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, and he was like, and I'm not being disrespectful. I'm like, yeah, you are.
You are. You actually are being disrespectful, totally disrespectful. But you know what? What am I going to say? It's part of when you put yourself in the arena, you're going to be a target. And you'd like to think that it would be better after we're no longer there. But some of that continues. And that's okay. That's all right. Mm-hmm. There are enough other people who I know are in our corner and who are rooting for us and who we can help. And some of the rhetoric has toned down a bit, I think, since President Obama left office. And I think actually he and Michelle Obama have an opportunity, being so young, to have a dramatic impact on a bunch of lives in the rest of their career. I was just with Michelle Obama up in Montreal. People in Canada love some First Lady of the United States, former First Lady.
Who doesn't love Michelle Obama?
Who does not love some Michelle Obama? And what I always say about her, having now known her so long, is like, first time I met her and she walked in my office, I was like, wow. She was about 27 years old, and she was old before her time then. And now I think she's really kind of coming into her own with her voice as strong as it is.
Now, would you ever want to throw your hat in that ring?
Which ring would that be now?
That presidential ring.
Are you crazy? No.
She said, nigga,
you've been there, you tasted it.
I did not say that, but I did not go that far because I don't know you that well. Please. No. I had the privilege of serving for 8 years, and it was magic. But no, what I'm really interested in doing now, and I'm helping President Obama with his foundation, is to help that next generation run for office. I love giving advice to people, but I do not want to go back.
You're still pretty young. You could jump on.
Thank you. You cleaned up the 30. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, word.
He did clean that up a bit.
Clean that up.
No, but I've talked to a lot of the folks who are running, and I give them all my best advice because I feel like I got a lot of experience over these years, and I'm rooting for them. But you have to have a real fire in your belly for this to do it. And it shouldn't be about you. It should be about like what you can do. I can remember when the Affordable Care Act passed, I was talking to President Obama like at 2 a.m. because we were celebrating. And I said, how do you feel now compared to election night? And he said, there's no comparison. Like this was all about getting to this night. So you have to keep in mind that it's not about you. It's about the people for whom you serve.
And your cell phone right now, right?
Yes.
My cell phone, I have my wife as Boo, have Charlamagne as Bay. What do you have?
Where is he going with
in
this?
Your phone as?
I can't tell you that. I'd have to kill you. All
okay.
right. We have some security issues here.
I'm just curious.
No, I do have him under a pseudonym.
Barack.
You know, when we're off air, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Okay.
Do you still
You'll
have
laugh.
security?
No, I don't have security.
Okay,
He
okay.
does, though.
Yeah,
He does.
yeah.
But don't tell anybody I don't. You just told everybody I don't.
I'm sorry, Ms. Val. Now she got
Golly.
20 shooters out there right
don't
now.
say that.
All right?
No, don't say that.
20 big diesel dudes with guns right now. Don't even try it.
But exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us, Valerie.
Thank you, Ms. Val.
We appreciate you joining us.
This was so much fun. You're going to have me back?
Absolutely.
I'm going to come back when it gets closer to the election to try to get everybody
No,
to vote,
we would love,
right?
we would love to have you. I think that we need as many, I don't want to say neutral voices, but just people that are letting us stay open to looking at what all the candidates are talking about.
Thank you. I think that's out. We have to keep an open mind. And it doesn't mean we don't have opinions, but we do have to do our homework and figure out who's going to help us.
Oh, that's my last question. As a senior advisor, do you think it's important that President Obama stay neutral and not endorse anybody?
You know, I think for the time being, yes. I think it's early. I think he's met also with several of the candidates and he's giving them his best advice. And they need to earn it on their own. I don't think anybody should be riding off of an endorsement this early in the race because stand on your own 2 feet. Prove why you are worthy. Not just that you got this very popular president in your corner, but that because he's not going to be with you in the White House.
Right.
So you're going to have to do that on your own. And so will he endorse later in the primary? I don't know. But I do know that whoever wins the primary, my best guess is he'll be working for them in the general election, just like he did in the midterms.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was worried about that midterm election. And thank goodness we won back the House. Look at what people like Elijah Cummings are doing right now, or Nancy Pelosi. I mean, they are the only accountability that we have in government.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody was thinking he was going to endorse Biden right out the gate just because that was his guy.
I think Biden even said, don't endorse me. Let me go out there and prove myself.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. We have Valerie Jarrett. Thank you for joining us.
You want to give out your
Thank
Twitters
you.
and Instagrams just in case?
Yes, Valerie B. Jarrett on Instagram and Valerie Jarrett on Twitter. I'm kind of easy to find.
Valerie B. Jordan. See what I'm saying? You go land that young
You know,
boy
I
today.
knew you were going to say that. I'm going to tell him what you said, so you're going to expect a phone call.
I'm going to text him right now
He
and
calls
say, yo.
me Miss Jarrett.
I'm going to text him right
That's how
now.
young
My
he is.
goodness. It's Valerie Jarrett. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.